At 11:47 p.m., you're staring at your screen again. A tab on investing, another on philosophy, a half-watched lecture on artificial intelligence, a bookmarked article about moving abroad. Your notes app is a graveyard of ambitions. And beneath all of it, there's a quiet fear you don't say out loud. What if I never become anything because I can't choose? You see people who picked one thing early, one path, one identity. They introduce themselves with confidence. I'm a lawyer. I'm a designer. I'm a founder. Clean lines, clear direction. Meanwhile, when someone asks what you do, you hesitate. You edit yourself mid-sentence. You shrink your range so you don't look scattered. And over time, you start to believe the story that something is wrong with you, that your curiosity is a weakness, that your shifting interests are evidence of immaturity, that if you were truly disciplined, you would just focus. But this is where most people misunderstand what's happening. Psychologically, having many interests often correlates with high openness to experience, a core personality trait linked to creativity, pattern recognition, and cognitive flexibility. Your brain is not wired to repeat the same loop forever. It is wired to explore, connect, and simulate possibilities. What looks like distraction can actually be divergent thinking, the ability to see multiple pathways where others see one. To understand why this feels so uncomfortable, we need to look at the world you were trained for. For decades, success favored the specialist, the I-shaped person, one deep vertical line of mastery, one role, one predictable environment. Depth meant security, but that model was built for stable systems, factories, corporations, institutions that changed slowly. This is not that world anymore. Industries transform in years, skills expire, entire job categories dissolve. In unstable systems, narrow specialization becomes fragile. And here's where it gets deeper. The people who thrive in volatile environments are often integrators, the ones who can move between domains, the ones who connect ideas that were never meant to meet. Think of it as an M-shaped mind. Not shallow across everything, not obsessively deep in only one thing, but multiple peaks of real competence, connected. Psychology and technology, storytelling and business, biology and design, each pillar reinforcing the others. Innovation rarely comes from a single silo, it comes from intersections. Evolution itself works through recombination. New traits emerge when different lines cross. Your mind may be doing the same thing with ideas. But living this way feels messy. You experience identity anxiety. You worry you're behind because your path isn't linear. Psychologists call it identity foreclosure when someone commits too early to a single identity just to reduce uncertainty. It feels stable in the short term, but it can lead to long-term dissatisfaction. Exploration feels chaotic now, but it allows integration later. If you're still watching, ask yourself something honestly. Are you unfocused, or are you in the process of building multiple pillars that haven't connected yet? And where are you watching this from? I always find it fascinating how many different lives these ideas resonate with. If this way of thinking speaks to you, there's a newsletter in the description where we go deeper into building this kind of path intentionally. Now here's the truth most people miss. Machines specialize, algorithms optimize narrow tasks, but humans integrate. Your prefrontal cortex, the most advanced part of your brain, evolved for simulation, for imagining alternative futures, for holding multiple possibilities at once. If your mind constantly generates new directions, that isn't dysfunction, it's optionality, it's adaptation. This isn't random. Your brain already knows the world is shifting. But curiosity without structure becomes chaos. The power of an M-shaped future is not endless dabbling, it's intentional depth in more than one area. You go deep, then you build another peak. Over time, the bridges appear. What once looked scattered begins to look strategic. So maybe the discomfort you feel isn't evidence that you lack focus. Maybe it's the tension of becoming something harder to label, something harder to replace. Before you leave, consider this. If you stopped apologizing for your range, what would you build differently? What would you commit to, not as a single identity, but as a part of a larger pattern? Subscribe if this resonated, and if you want to design your own M-shaped path, the newsletter community in the description is where we continue the conversation. You don't have too many interests. You might be built for the future that hasn't fully arrived yet.